Um, I would now like to introduce Lorelei Cloud, who is the Vice Chair of the Southern Ute Indian Tribe, who is going to open us up today. Thank you so much, Lorelei, for being here.
On it? No? It's okay. I'll figure it out. Dutebe. Good day, everyone. Again, my name is Lorelei Cloud. I am the Vice Chairman of the Southern Indian Tribe. And I'm very honored to be here this morning and speak about the Southern Ute people and about beavers and about water. So I'm very, very honored. I would also like to first acknowledge that this land that we are currently sitting on is Ute land. This is one of our part of our home country, our homeland for the Ute people. And so offering and speaking about a modern day narrative, giving recognition to the lands that we're speaking on is very, very important, because these narratives that are being shared now are mostly from a non-Indigenous perspective. And so understanding the land that you're speaking, that we're currently on, and why it's so important to acknowledge those is really important. The Ute people are the first caretakers of this entire land. And as I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a Ute history as we go through this time that I share with you. I'm also going to talk about our natural resources, about the beaver and the bison, talk about the Colorado River, which is the main reason why I'm here, and to provide some significance of tribal inclusion, and also provide some advice for our students that are here, and also share some final thoughts. And I also want to recognize the Sunshine Cloud Smith Youth Advisory Council, if they can stand in the back, please. So I'm very honored that my youth also came along with me to learn as much as they possibly can. Thank you. So first, I'm going to give you some history of the Ute people. Taking a step back in time is really important, again, to understand why it's significant to have tribal inclusion. So as we stand here today, it's really important to understand that Ute people, again, are the oldest inhabitants of what is now known as the state of Colorado. The state lines are really arbitrary lines. We still claim this entire area as our homelands. The Nuchu or Nooch is what it translates is to the people, because we are the people of this land. The Ute people do not have a migration story. Some tribes they moved from place to place, but our tribe never did that. We still maintain our tribal homelands is in the Rocky Mountain region, so we do not have a migration story. Our creation story started here in the Rocky Mountains, and we will continue to be here. And as you can see, we encompassed a large area, mostly the state of Colorado, a large portion of Utah, New Mexico, portions of Wyoming, and Arizona. The Ute people follow a band structure, which is similar to something that the Confederacy did as well too, but we still follow this band structure today. Each band had a chief, and collectively those chiefs would get together and they would make decisions. But the Ute people we are a matriarchal people, which means the women control everything. Just so for all of our women out there, and we still follow that today. Let's see. So one other important aspect of Ute people is we didn't believe in land ownership. We believed that we should share this territory, and we shared it along with our animals and nature in our homelands. And our Ute people lived off of the land. There was a connection between human and nature that system has been fractured because of colonism, but we're trying to regain that system now. The Ute people also established the Ute Trail, which was later named the Spanish Trail, but it really is the Ute Trail. So those systems were created by my ancestors. The Ute people are also historically nomadic, and that also changed when we came into property of the horses. And so the way that this happened is the Spanish came into our area in the 1600s, and the 16th century, I guess. And then they came up from New Mexico. And when the Utes were captured, they were taken down to the Santa Fe area, and most of the Utes then escaped. But they escaped with the Spaniards' horses. And one way that they created economic development for themselves is we would sell back the horses back to the Spaniards. But there was that trading aspect of the Utes and horses, but we were the first tribal nation to have horses. And that dramatically changed how we hunted, and we took care of our land because it gave us an opportunity to hunt faster, to move faster, to protect our homelands better than we had in the past. So also one of our oldest ceremonies that we have, and it dates back, I don't even know if there's a date, but it's called our bear dance. We call it Mamakwakap. And what this is, it's a woman's dance, and we celebrate this in the springtime. And this dance is extremely old, and there's different parts within the Colorado and our homelands where this dance has been I guess, celebrated, because we celebrate every part of life. And so this is just another part of us celebrating life, and because this was part of rejuvenation. We did this dance in the summertime, or I should say we do this dance in the summertime because we still practice this today. And it's about celebrating life. Everything that happens during the springtime or in the wintertime, we celebrate in the summertime or in the spring with our people and with our relatives that we haven't seen in a long time. They all come together during these dances that we hold. And it's a really great time for us as well, too, to provide those ceremonies back to nature. Putting your footsteps back in nature on the ground when there's music is so powerful in connection between humans and nature. So our contact with the Europeans began with the Spanish, who again moved up north. And it's really hard as we go through this part of our history because it shows how much land we have lost in between when this colonization started to current. So my reservation greatly changed in the 1800s when settlers came here and they expanded from the west. And that was largely because they were looking for gold and silver. And they were also looking for land. So in 1868, my reservation was established, and along with the Ute Mountain Ute tribe, we have both the same establishment date of our reservations, and that pushed us closer down towards New Mexico. And then 1873, that changed again, and our reservation was reduced again because of the Bruna Agreement. And so you can see that things have changed even greatly because this is our current homelands. And so making our reservations, again, we became stable, and so there wasn't that nomadic nature between the Utes and nature again. Being stable on land doesn't help us to rejuvenate the parts of the land because we would move within seasons. Once we moved in seasons, it gave the opportunity for nature and the animals to rejuvenate themselves. So when we came back to those areas, it was back to being pristine as it once was. And so you see the beautiful scenery that we're in right now. That's because of the way that the Ute people took care of this land when we first inhabited it. So currently, the Southern Ute tribe, again, is made up of the Mawach and Kapota bands of Utes. The Wee-Manooch Band is now known as the Ute Mountain, or the Ute Mountain. And the Ute Mountain Reservation also is in the state of New Mexico and in Utah, and it doesn't depict that on this map. And the Ute tribe, they're up in the Utah area. They are the Uncompahgre, White River, and the Uinta bands of Utes. And there's a long history of why that reservation is put in Utah, and they separated us because of the Meeker Massacre in Meeker, Colorado. And so that's another whole history. If you want to know more about that, I'm glad to share that part of my history with you. And so my reservation currently sits here. It's 110 miles in length and 15 miles wide. So we share our borders with our sister tribe, the Ute Mountain Ute tribe, also our other sister tribe, the Hickory Apache Nation, and the state of New Mexico. Even though we're still separated, they separated the Ute people, we're still the Ute tribes, we're still the Ute Nation, we still collectively move as the Ute people. So I'm gonna switch gears and talk a little bit more about the bison, or sorry, the beaver. In Ute, they're called Bawich, and that's how I usually refer to them, as Bawich. Beaver is, again, a colonized word that we never refer to them as. So a Bawich actually means a river knife, which is it's a good name for them. They are the river knife. They are native to Colorado, and they are a keystone species to our wetlands and to our waterways. They are also known as the ecosystem engineers, and because they create and maintain wetlands, and they also build dams and provide foraging. In our culture, we believe in coexistence with our wildlife, as they were created for a specific reason. They have a specific purpose, just like each and every one of us. And so, similar to the American bison, we call those cooch, or kuchu, and so these symbols of the buffalo is very important to our spirituality, our spiritual strength, and our spiritual endurance. Our buffalo provided meat and hides for our clothing and also for shelter. And currently my tribe has a small buffalo herd, probably around 40 head of buffalo. And both the beaver and the buffalo faced near extinction in the 19th century. And during this time, we witnessed and experienced the firsthand impacts of their absence. Their near loss of the beavers was a result of demand and consumption for their fur, and the buffalo was hunted in order to control the native population. Before efforts were made to restore the beaver, we experienced the loss of our wetlands, because beavers create our wetlands by building their dams. They slow down the water flow, they create ponds, they increase our water levels, and without beavers, those wetlands can dry up, leading to loss of habitat and also the loss of numerous plants and other animal species. Beavers also help prevent erosion by slowing down water flow and trapping sediment. So they're a very important aspect to nature. And wetlands, again, are very much needed because they are a natural filter, and they remove the pollutants from our water. And with fewer wetlands, water quality can decline, harming our aquatic life and potentially affecting human health. So there was also a deprivation of our food chain, because many of these animals also relied on food and shelter in those wetland areas. So the loss of beaver-created wetlands can disrupt our food chain, which also leads to, again, the decline of population to other species. And the loss of our buffalo is another vital part of our ecosystem, and the buffalo were a vital food source to not just my tribe, but other tribal nations. And so that loss of food source was very detrimental upon us, because it created widespread hunger and malnutrition. And this was, again, the most healthiest food source for us. And that was removed. And it created a lot of health issues that my people currently deal with today. And it also created deprivation of our cultural practices, because buffalo are deeply entwined within our ceremonies and our storytelling. And so it had a profound impact of their loss, especially on our tribal identity and our spiritual well-being. There was also an economic hardship because buffaloes they provided clothing for us, they provided shelter, their bones and horns were used for tools and for weapons, and the decline of the buffalo population declined our economic hardship, created economic hardship for Native Americans across the West. There was also environmental degradation because the loss of the buffalo also created this hardship with our other animals. They wallow, which creates places for our deer and other animals to help protect their young. It also, they are part of the landscape because we need these animals to graze the grasslands, which if they're not there, it also creates erosion and it provides a place for a species to thrive. So it's also very interesting as we progress in the development of conservation because we're finding that indigenous knowledge is very, very important on how our ecosystem works. And wildlife also has their own method of creating their own ecosystem. So again, I want to express the importance of recognizing wildlife because they're not just animals, they're important living beings that we need in our cycle of life. This is their home, again, and they play an important role in our environment. So it's really encouraging to see you all here gathered to share interest on beavers and our wildlife. And I want to thank you all for the work that you do in helping these conservation efforts and restoring these animals and in our environment. So I'm going to shift a little bit to water. As you know, especially for our Ute people, water is critical to our life. It's critical to our future. It's critical to our traditions as Ute people. Water is a sacred element. It is alive. It has a spirit, just like every single one of you. And that spirit also has to be taken care of. And so when as we grow up, as Ute people grow up, we've learned from a very young age to respect water. And we use water in all of our prayers, and we pray for our water. My reservation is very unique because I have 7 rivers that flow through my reservation. Most reservations don't look this way, but we are very unique. However, because I have 7 rivers that flow through my reservation, drought has very much stricken my area. Drought doesn't end at the reservation boundary. It affects everybody, and it's greatly affected the water levels within my reservation boundaries. But it's also important that I also highlight for the Southern Ute tribe specifically, our water rights are quantified pursuant a congressionally approved water settlement in 1988, and we had amendments in 2000. So we're very fortunate to have all of our water settled and protected, but the only way to truly protect our water is to use it. And so right now we are facing infrastructure problems and the access to our own water. And in the Colorado River Basin, this is a critical conversation that we're having right now across the 7 basin states. And again, water is very critical to my reservation. In my reservation, my water comes from the San Juan River tributary. And so all of the water that flows through my reservation will end up flowing back through the San Juan River, back into Lake Powell and down into Lake Mead. And so the Colorado River Basin is made up of 7 basin states. And it's split into 2 different basins. The upper basin is Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. And the lower basin is Arizona, California, and Nevada. So these 2 basins don't truly work. They don't work the same. In the upper basin, it's managed by the Upper Colorado River Commission, and in the lower basin, it's managed by the Bureau of Reclamation. And according to the 1922 Colorado River Compact, the upper basin must deliver 7.5 million acre-feet of water a year to the lower basin. But the upper basin relies completely upon hydrology. So whatever Mother Nature gives us is what we rely on. The lower basin doesn't do that. They rely on the upper basin every year to provide them their water. And so this is one of the issues that we're dealing with currently in the Colorado River Basin. because 40 million people depend upon this river, not just for the water, but also for the electricity that is created from the hydro dams in Lake Powell. So the 2007 guidelines are set to expire in 2026. So it's a critical moment for tribal inclusion to be encompassed in the management. Historically, tribes have not been included in any of the Colorado River conversations. In 1922, the Colorado River Compact was established, but there's also a caveat. There's a 1908 Supreme Court ruling called the Winters Doctrine, which means that when reservations were established, that it is implied that they have water to sustain life. The Colorado River Compact ignored that ruling. And so there's one statement in the whole Colorado River Compact that talks about indigenous people, and that's it. So these rules and regulations were not meant for us. They were actually meant against us because we weren't supposed to be existing in 2024. And so this is where our fight is to have tribal inclusion. So in 1924, Native Americans finally got citizenship in the United States. So June 2nd of this year was 100 years for us being citizens in our own country. And one of the other major impacts to our water is tribal homes, not just within the Colorado River Basin, but across the country, are 19 times more likely to not have running water in their homes, which it shouldn't happen today. It shouldn't happen in 2024, but that is a reality for us. So these new guidelines are really, really important for us to have tribal inclusion, a tribal voice to be in those processes because, again, we've been left out for such a long time. So we are working tirelessly to have that inclusion and also to make sure that our tribal water rights and our tribal water are protected. So collectively, 10 out of 30 tribes within the entire river basin have 20 to 30% of the entire river allocation. So let me say that again. There's 30 tribes within the basin. 10 tribes in all 7 states have 20 to 30% of the entire river allocation. And we have been left out of the conversations for water management. So as we continue to move forward, we're advocating, again, for not just for our people, for our tribes, but also for nature. And everything in nature also includes our beaver, all of the other habitats that go along with it, the trees, the insects. Everything in nature is critical to how everything works. And as tribes, we believe in the cycle of life, so everything has a purpose. And so this is one of the things that we think about when we talk about how to save our river, how to save our environment. So everything, including the paws, the humans and the paws, everything is critical as we talk about water and saving the water for our future. So in closing, I just want to encourage all of our fellow leaders and our policymakers, our biologists, our engineers, our students, to continue to have a strong interest in wildlife and what happens and the impacts it's going to have on our environment. I want to thank you all for listening to me and attending this wonderful conference. I'm so glad it happened here in Colorado this year, and I hope that it comes back. I also want to remind you to take care of yourself, because if you take care of yourself, you take care of nature. We all have busy lives, but we have to make sure that everything is in balance. There has to be a balance between human and nature because there has to be reciprocity. Say your prayers for your water. Thank your water for everything it does for you in your life. You give your water to, sorry, I'm getting a little dry, kind of talking about water in case you dry. Everything that we do in life revolves about water. When you give water to your animals in the morning or whatever it is, thank that water, thank your animals, because it's all very, very important. I also want to encourage you to learn about all the indigenous peoples in your area, because every tribe is going to be different. Every tribe has different traditions, different belief systems. So please It's Malcolm Lehigh, council member from Ute Mountain Ute Tribe. So thank you, Malcolm. Again, I wanted to just thank you all for being here. Learn as much as you possibly can about the indigenous people, because all public lands are native lands. And when you're out there, please respect the environment. Do not leave your trash laying around. If you find it, take it with you. But if you find artifacts, leave it where it is. It belonged to somebody at one time, and it doesn't belong to you if you find it. There's no finders, keepers out there. So, and also it's really important too, like the Ute people, we created the Leave No Trace. So if you try to find us out there in some of the artifacts, we did a really good job of cleaning up after ourselves. And so I just ask that you all also respect nature as much as you possibly can. Again, remember, thank your water, believe in it. Oh, since I have one more moment. So one question for all of you. I hope you all know this answer. So who all here has a mother? Raise your hands, come on. So for you people, again, like I said, we're a matriarchal people. Women are very, very important. So I ask every single one of you, when you leave here, thank all of the women in your lives, from the youngest to the oldest. Tell them that you love them and support them. Tuwayak.
Water everywhere. You spread the water. You spread the water.
I spread the blessings.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Vice Chairman Lorelei Cloud, for being here and opening us up that way. And thank you all for being here at this great global gathering for beavers, BeaverCON 2024. It is such a blessing to have you here. We're running a little bit behind, so I'm going to make this brief as possible. But just for your brains, when you're looking at that schedule this morning, everything's 15 minutes behind. So we're going to make that up at lunch. But I'm going to keep it as brief as possible here. A lot of this is just housekeeping stuff. I don't know if I introduced myself. I'm Adam Burnett with the Beaver Institute. At this time, I'd love to bring up our team that has made this possible. So if the Beaver Institute team can come up here. This is Avery Sossaman, our Finance and Communications Manager. We have Aaron Hall, who's the Beaver Corps Program Director. Lauren Taylor, who is the Beaver Corps Program Manager. Lara Thomas, who you've all been getting emails from, who has made this all possible. And last but not least, none of us would be here if it were not for our founder, Mike Callahan. I just want to do some broad thank yous. Thank you to our local partners, Boulder Watershed Collective and Watershed Center. Again, this would not be happening so smoothly and with so much joy if it weren't for their early collaboration. Thank you to the folks that helped situate ourselves in this landscape. We started talking to folks in 2022, and what's going to happen here this week is all as a result of those conversations and dialogues. A little bit of housekeeping. This is a bad joke. I'm sorry. The knock on the door. Okay, we're hotel life. Sorry. Well, first dud of the event right there. That just so we chose abundance this year as our directive for the conference. We have over 150 individuals that are going to be holding space and sharing knowledge, which is remarkable. That's tripling the number of folks that shared at our last conference. But as a result, we're going to be trucking along, so we're not reading bios. We're cutting out 3 hours of the conference by not reading bios. Those bios are going to be on your phone in the Whova app. Everything's in the Whova app. Everyone's been telling you, download Whova, so download Whova. Similarly, Q&A, we're not going to be running around doing Q&A. There's too many people. It's too much. So Q&A, if you've got questions, every single session, I believe, has a Q&A. And if there's time, they'll be able to look and answer questions on stage. If there's not, those are going to be there populated in the Whova system so that you can connect later over the questions that you might have. Final few things, lunch is going to be split between the ballroom and the tent. If you've got allergies, stay in the ballroom. This is where that cuisine is going to be. Tonight at the Rayback Collective, starting at 6:30, the National Beaver Working Group is going to be hosting an open house. The first 175 folks get a free drink, so get there. Tomorrow night is a storytelling circle at the Dairy Arts Center at 7:30. Please RSVP on the Hoover app, 120 maximum at that event. And finally, I just want to now hand it over to Mike Callahan, who's going to open us up and lead us on. And if you see any of these beautiful faces here, say hi, and they're willing and able to help you. So again, thank you all so much for being here, and here we go.
Thank you, Adam, and welcome everybody. This is so touching. You know, as many of you know, this is our third BeaverCon, and the first, we had 160, in 2022, 200 people. We have nearly 500. So give yourselves all a round of applause. It's so heartwarming to see. You know, I started with beavers, working with beavers over 25 years ago, and to see the geometric rise of the interest in beavers and restoration is just fantastic. And so I'm not going to take up the time because I want to introduce our next speaker, who is Beaver All-Star, Dr. Emily Fairfax, teaching at University of Minnesota and as Beaver Institute Board of Director. And I could take up the whole time for a talk talking about her accolades. She's such an all-star. But I won't, and I'll bring her right up. So here's Emily.